CeeDee Lamb or Chris Olave? We're going to break down A.J. Brown or Garrett Wilson. We might even dig into Jaylen Waddle versus Christian Watson. The Fantasy Football Show Face-Off Edition begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
What is going on, good people? We're doing the face-off game yet again. And this time around, we're discussing two wide receivers we all absolutely love, CeeDee Lamb and Chris Olave. We're going to break down, their ADP differences. There's a stark difference between these two gentlemen's ADPs. And so you have to consider that when we're talking about, where do you draft these guys versus where you can get away with something, get away with highway robbery and like the value more. So in the context of Olave, he's going later. He's going sometimes at 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. Lamb's going in round 1. So there's a big difference between these two gentlemen's ADPs. And you have to take that into full consideration when we start talking about, which one of them do you draft first? Of course, that's a whole different conversation. But when we sit here and go, okay, could Olave actually outscore CeeDee Lamb? The answer is yes. He could absolutely outscore CeeDee Lamb. Could Olave be a guy that you get in the third round and then all of a sudden, you're able to use that CeeDee Lamb pick in round 1 on Bijan, on whatever you want? That's how you win a league. So big difference. First in, ignore everyone else. I'm not sure what that means, Sam, but appreciate you being here. First in the building was Michael K. CPA. Ron Navy sighting. Ron Navy in the building. Appreciate you, Ron. Hope you're doing well. We do know he's doing well, but Ron Navy, glad to see you in here. JCIM, Dan the Grim Reacher, Lunchbox. Appreciate everybody being in the house right now. True Penguin, Steve, Fallon on Kilpatrick. Appreciate you all. Hod, Bella, check yourself. Kevin, everybody filing in on this one. Okay, hit that thumb up button on your way in the door, by the way. So, at the end of the day, of course, we love the draft capital of Olave more than Lamb. Probably your third drafted player. Probably your first drafted player. So, cost of entry wise, easy smash to say Olave's the better value. But push comes to shove, would anybody in here actually rather have Olave over Lamb if you had to trade them 1 for 1? There is no way to obtain more value like you should if you're actually in real life making this trade. Redraft, already existing redraft, which nobody's drafted yet in redraft really. But Dynasty, I would rather have Olave. This sounds crazy because you guys know I love CeeDee Lamb. I would rather have Olave if push came to shove and I just had to pick one. You said, Smitty, who's outscoring the other in 2023? And I couldn't factor in ADP. I couldn't factor in anything. I just had to make a decision. I would tell you, give me Chris Olave. Some might not like that answer. Some people might say, how could you? How could you? You love CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's been a big part of this show. How dare you forsake CeeDee Lamb? It's not about Lamb. I like Lamb. It's not about Lamb. It's about Olave. It's about Olave being capable of being the number 1 wide receiver in the National Football League in air yards. He was already as a rookie with Winston back there. Granted, Winston's throwing missiles interception, big play, interception, big play. But Derek Carr is very similar in that Derek Carr laser locks on wide receivers like really Aaron Rodgers. So Devontae Adams, who lost Aaron Rodgers, got handed Derek Carr. Derek Carr fed him nearly 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, 100+ receptions. He's going to laser lock on Olave in a very similar fashion. And Derek Carr's good at throwing a deep ball. You may question Derek Carr's ability to win And that's a whole different conversation, NFL quarterback versus fantasy football enabler. He can enable a wide receiver to a very extreme degree. I have no questions about Olave's ability to reach CeeDee Lamb numbers. I have very little questions about it. And to be honest, I have a little bit more concern about Lamb's situation in that we're looking at a potential lesser passing attack. They're going to run the damn ball, according to McCarthy himself. They got rid of Moore in a very successful air attack in Arsenal. With Moore gone, you don't fully know what's going to happen. And if they lean more toward the run, and you don't know if the play calling will be successful, the fact that this team was absolutely bonkers, regardless of wins or losses, they were one of the top 5 offenses every year, just tons of production, tons of yardage, lots of scoring, and you take more out of the situation now, and now McCarthy's calling plays. We don't know how it's going to work out. It's being said that we're going to run more, which doesn't really bode well for the wide receiver when you hear that. If it's me, I'm taking Olave. If it's me, Olave is my guy over Lamb if I had to pick. But I don't have to pick because guess what? Olave's going in the 3rd round. Olave may go in the late 2nd round very, very soon if he's not already, depending on where you're drafting. Is it best ball? Is it 3 wide receiver requirement? Is it 2 wide receiver and a flex? All those things determine whether he's 3.2 or 2.10. Okay? So relax if you, Schmitty, he doesn't go here. Stop with your definitives. It's all over the map. I know. I'm looking at it. He's all over the map. Olave is going to explode. Olave is capable of rushing for tremendous stats as well for a wide receiver. For a wide receiver that's not Deebo Samuel. This is a guy that could be a top 5 wide receiver in the National Football League in 2023. This is a guy you must get good value on because you can. This is a guy you must draft as your 3rd drafted player if you can. This is not a guy you walk out of this live stream and say, Smitty says he's top 5. I'm going to draft him in the 1st round. If you do that, or even draft him in the mid-2nd round, we're talking about a player in Chris Olave that can win you a league if you're responsible with where to get him, when to get him, how to get him. Understand what I'm saying? I'm punching this button because I think he does outscore Lamb, but I am telling you and giving you the roadmap to make sure you don't screw it up, okay? And go get the wrong guy. Phone lines are open if you guys want to ask a quick question while I go through this, but I'm going to probably hang up on everybody that dials in. We're not doing the panel yet. But we will be opening up the phone lines for a little panel session. But for right now, if you got a quick question in regards to these players, I'll go ahead and answer those questions. So this one was pretty, actually, only talked for 8 minutes and 40 seconds on this topic. I thought I'd be here for a half hour to an hour. Maybe we're not done yet. I haven't even hit the button yet to switch to the next 2 players. Maybe this will go another 25, 30 minutes. Who knows? You know how I roll. This guy right here, if I had to project a stat line for Chris Olave, Chris Olave stats. Let's see I'm going to pull up his exact stats from 2022 and put it on the screen. Let's grab it here. These are unreal stats considering that he didn't get the touchdown production, which he's going to get. That's the main emphasis here when we break down Chris Olave, okay? When we break down Chris Olave and we talk about what's up, Ron Navy? Ron Navy, you're live.
Hey, Smitty.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah. I go off mute. When I call, I'm always on mute at first, so I have your sound on. I got to turn it down.
What's up, my man? How you feeling?
Oh, I feel like a Mack truck hit me for the last 3 days.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're doing better, pal.
Yeah. I haven't been getting much sleep, and just sore, and I've had home care here the last couple days, and it is what it is. Like, you got to get through the pain to get better, right?
Yep, you'll get better. Real quickly before I'm gonna take a question and I'll drop you off the line and have you come back on the panel session. Real quick opinion on these two right here while we're rolling through these.
Yeah, Olave, I think, actually has more upside this year than Lamb, for me, anyways. But I agree. If you can get him in the third round, it's the right place to get him in.
Yeah, definitely feel like if Lamb's going around 1, changing offense.
Get Bijan round 1, get Garrett Wilson round 2, and get Olave in round 3.
Yeah, or even more balanced if anybody wants to. You go Bijan round 1. You could literally go, if you want, you could wait on a quarterback too, because Burrow's going around 4. Burrow's a smash. Well, you could even maybe get Kelsey in some contexts, and like you could go Kelsey round 1, Bijan round 2. If Bijan falls to 14 or 15, sometimes he does. It really just depends on how astute your league is. If your league knows that Bijan's a first rounder by now, then you might not be able to get Kelsey and Bijan. But you could literally potentially get Bijan Kelsey or Kelsey Bijan, Olave Joe Burrow. Or if you wanted to go Mahomes or Jalen Hurts, let's use Jalen Hurts because of the rushing upside, and that makes somebody want to take a quarterback in round 2 versus wait on Burrow, let's just say. If you were going to go that route, you go Bijan, Jalen Hurts, Chris Olave, and then in round 4 go, RB or whatever. That's certainly a possibility as well, or wide receiver, whatever. Like Watson, I love Watson. We'll get to Watson next. Bijan, Hurts, Chris Olave, Watson's fantastic. Bijan,
or you fade your quarterback because you got Olave. You can always pick up Carr later. So
yeah. All right, hang tight real quick, Ron. If you want to hang on mute, you can. Bruce, quick question on this specific topic, and then I'm going to put you on hold and go through the rest of these.
Olave versus Lamb?
Lamb chops,
I think Olave wins.
Yeah.
Olave wins.
Now draft value-wise, I think anybody that has been looking at any of this stuff at all this offseason would say, okay, yeah, value-wise, I get it. If somebody said I'd rather have 1-for-1 Lamb, I can understand it. I wouldn't tell anybody to take a lap. I totally get it. But yeah, if you're talking about third round versus first round, it's like, it's not even close. But if you talk about just, hey, Smitty, 1-for-1 trade, you can't get anything else. You just got to decide who's going to score more. Like you're like in the best ball scenario, and you're allowed one trade, and you could only do a 1-for-1, let's just say. And you're like, do I take Olave? Do I take Lamb? Give me Olave. Give me Olave. Give me the running upside. Give me the fact that I believe Carr's going to feed him. Give me the fact that Olave survived with different quarterbacks. So what if somebody thinks going to happen? That he's going to be handed a guy like Carr who laser locks onto a wide receiver, and he's going to not perform? He performed with Dalton. He performed with Taysom Hill. He performed with Winston. He performed playing a stretch the field role and then playing a sideline possession wide receiver role, honing in on all of his skills, because this man was forced to play every little facet of the wide receiver position because the quarterbacks were different every time he was handed a new quarterback. Here's his stat line from 2022: 72 receptions, 1042, 4 TDs. Pretty remarkable considering the quarterback rotation and turnover that they had in New Orleans. Pretty remarkable considering there wasn't touchdown production being fed to wide receivers. Derek Carr can certainly do that. He handed 14 touchdowns to Devontae Adams in a very bad situation with a horrible defense. This is New Orleans Saints is a top 10 defense, you could argue. And you could argue that they've got the ability to live in the red zone a whole lot more, astronomically more than last season, because of the fact that Derek Carr is going to be more consistent. I think Derek Carr impresses a lot of people. I think people they walk away from this year maybe a similar fashion to being impressed with Goff and Geno last year. Being so impressed, and Cousins, being so impressed with Cousins, Goff, and Geno when maybe the expectation was super low. And it was like, oh, these guys can't be great, right? They played great. All three of them played great. There's a real opportunity for people that say Carr's garbage, Carr's, incapable of winning games because you're judging him in his Raiders situation. There's a real opportunity for Carr to humble a lot of people's opinions about him coming up here in this coming season. If I had to guess the stat line, let me get the super chat here. This is from the Patrick. The Patrick says, I like Olave for the value. He's falling pretty low in my draft, but if you're taking draft value out of it, come on, Smitty. It's Lamb who's on the better team. Well, Patrick, I appreciate your super chat, by the way. To the moon. But I just explained why I disagree with what you just said. I think there's questions about this Dallas offense now that Moore's gone, McCarthy's in, McCarthy's claiming they're going to run. There's a lot of reason to kind of, I think, take what you said and remove it from the equation and say, we got to wait and see on this, man. This is a TBA situation in terms of whether this is going to be the exact same scenario. And not to mention, I don't think it's come on man worthy. I don't think it is. I don't think you can judge this guy Olave yet and say we've seen his ceiling. This is fantasy football is a game of prediction, a game of projection, a game of chance in a lot of ways. And to assume that this can't be a top 3 wide receiver and this guy kind of linger around 5, 7, 8, somewhere around that 7, 8. Like Lamb, if you can't envision Lamb slipping into the 7, 8 territory, I mean, come on, he could easily slip into that 7 or 8 ranked wide receiver territory. He could easily be 4, but he could easily be 7, 8. He could easily slip into that territory with the questions around Dak and his consistency with McCarthy. I think running the ball more is going to be probably better for Pollard than it will be for Lamb. Not that it'll take away a lot of Lamb's value, but not a come on man comment. Not worthy of the come on man, bro. I would definitely say that is not an appropriate use of the come on, Smitty. Not appropriate usage at all. This guy, you're not giving this guy near enough credit to what he's capable of doing. Don't draw conclusions off of 1 year. Don't draw conclusions off of having no quarterback. This guy's got top 5 wide receiver potential written all over him. Value-wise, I do believe that, you got to factor that in, obviously. And there's no way you're drafting these guys close to each other. That was kind of the point made earlier. But in a vacuum, if I've got to choose, I'm picking Olave. And we'll reconvene at the end of the year. Doesn't mean I don't love Lamb. This is not a negative on Lamb. This is not me saying I don't love Lamb. This is not me saying Lamb can't produce similar stats that he produced last year. I've been on Lamb for the last 2 years. There's no way I'm more than that. There's no way I'm jumping off the train. But this guy is a whole different ballgame. And I think his situation being improved the way that it was improved, some people are going to act like it's not going to be that improved. That's fine. This is part of the prediction game. But Olave is going to vault into, I think, everyone's top 5 wide receivers after the 2023 season. I don't disagree, or I don't mind anybody having a different take on this topic. I mean, it is what it is, but I don't think that's an appropriate use of the come on man, the Patrick. You can dial in, Patrick, if you want to discuss it, but there's really no debate, because you can have Lamb higher, you can have Olave higher. There's really no you can't do that. This is a very arguable topic, in my opinion, between these two guys.
Hey,
okay,
Smitty.
yeah.
I had one because I've been doing a couple mocks where Lamb and Wilson have been going around the same time. Which one would you take? Lamb or Garrett Wilson?
That's a very close call. I kind of feel like I want to go Wilson. Again, it comes down to Lamb's going a little higher. Wilson's climbing into the bottom of round 1. I just feel like I feel like, I'm predictive. Sometimes I don't go with what everybody else feels or thinks because, people want to play it safe. I do play it a little risky, but I don't play it in a risky way that I'm just throwing mud at the wall or just tossing darts with a, blindfold on. Like, there's rhyme and reason to it. I think Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, these two guys are going to be in the mix for the top 4 to 7 wide receivers, one of them being top 5. I don't know which one will be top 5. Do I feel like Olave could outscore Garrett Wilson? Absolutely feel like it's possible. Do I have Garrett Wilson ranked higher? I do. But sometimes I find myself and catch myself saying, why? Like, I like Aaron Rodgers in New York. Don't get me wrong. But Derek Carr in New Orleans is just as effective for the wide receiver, the lead wide receiver on the team. And you could even say that, Rodgers will be inclined to throw to Lazard. They're looking at bringing in another player like Hopkins or Odell. They're going to run the ball a lot. The defense is going to control situations, and they're going to be in scoring position a lot. You could argue that the Saints having a little bit lesser of a situation could spell more passing. Like, we know Derek Carr can feed his wide receiver when the team is down and throwing the football. So I just think that anybody that is going to brush off this play calling change in situation, potentially the balance of the offense and how that's going to change, to brush all that off and just assume Lamb will repeat last year or be better is, I think, not a mistake. It's just something you should consider. It's something you shouldn't brush off and say, Olave can't beat Lamb. Lamb's the man. Like, I like Lamb. This is not about Lamb. This is about Olave. This is not at all about me not liking CeeDee Lamb. This is just about me liking Olave on his own better than a lot of players that I think people will rank ahead of Olave. They're both amazing. They're both amazing.
Well, here's the thing. You're dead right, because Lamb's going in round 1, okay? And so you get to round 1, and it's been in the mainstream more that Dallas might be targeting Bijan. There's a lot of talk about that. So if that's true, who are you going to take in the first round? Are you going to take Bijan or are you going to take Lamb? And it is not like there's a big difference between Lamb and Olave, but you could take Bijan in round 1 and get the great value of Olave in round 3. That's where you gain your value. It's not like there's a big difference between the players.
Yeah, and not to mention, as Steven said, like Brandon Cooks could take away some from Lamb. Like there's a lot of, I think there's more concerns about Lamb, and this is not against Lamb. I like Lamb. I'm just saying there's more concerns about Lamb than there are Olave. From Kellen Moore to McCarthy, the play calling change, the balance of the offense going more run heavy, according to McCarthy himself, the guy making the play calls. Cook's coming in. Dak Prescott kind of folding at the end of the year where everybody's putting pressure on him. His injury concern. What if Dak goes down? There's so many concerns, I think, about Dallas right now to say, oh, he's going to 100% be back where he was last year or better. I just feel like if there is a wide receiver in the top 15 overall players, a wide receiver going in the top 15 overall, top 14 overall, top 13 overall, he's going in the first round. If anybody inside the top 13 wide receiver wise that has concerns for me that make me say to myself, I'd rather just take a RB. And and again, we're not comparing the value. We know that Olave's better value, because if he can even come close or tie CeeDee Lamb from third round value against Lamb's first, it's clear as day. But even 1 for 1, just trying to predict who outscores the other. If someone said, I'll bet you $20, Smitty, that you can't predict this right, I would say, give me Olave. I'd cringe a little bit because it's hard for me to not say Lamb, but all those things I mapped out, there aren't those concerns over here. This is a team that's going to throw a lot because they got a top 10 defense, but if you're concerned at all about the Saints winning, then they're throwing more than anybody expects, right? If that's your stance, if you think the Saints aren't going to be amazing with Carr. Carr's proven with wide receivers, laser locks on him. Olave's proven as a field stretcher. He's proven as a possession wide receiver. He's proven as a sideline wide receiver. This guy honed in on all those skills, trying to deal with the mess of the quarterback situation that he was granted and given in 2022. He had to change his game. And Way Up says you can't go wrong with either. Agreed. But I think it's important to literally say, third rounder, first rounder, smash in value. He smashes this conversation value-wise. If I'm choosing in a vacuum, no ADP considered. It's not an easy button for me to hit, but I'm still going to say I'm being predictive. Give me Olave. Final thoughts on this, and I'm going to move on to the other two topics, guys. You can hold on mute if you want. Anybody have the final note? Okay. Next player debate is going to be, let's go with another controversial one. Let's go with these two boys right here. Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is going higher and higher, it seems, every single week. I've seen him go before we went to the 2 QB format on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. Get to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code Smitty, or use this link I'm about to drop right now in the live chat. I'm going to pin that link, and you can get up to $100 bonus match, dollar for dollar on your first deposit. And this is what you want when we go into the drafts at night. You need to be signed up using this link. I just pinned it. You need to be signed up using that link before the drafts even begin if you want to be a party of the best ball drafts. But before, Ron, you can probably assist me on this, but before we switched over to Superflex on Underdog, and there's no more 1 QB drafts for right now, we were looking at a AJ Brown ADP hike, weren't we? Wasn't he going at like 6 and 7 overall in a lot of late drafts before the big board 1 QB closed?
Yeah, he was, because people were trying. I think the reason for that is people were trying to grab him mid draft to try to get Hurts on the way back, to match him up with Hurts. I think that had a lot to do with it.
Probably did.
Garrett Wilson also jumping up into the 1 round, the late 1 round.
I'd say they're pretty neck and neck ADP wise. You could argue.
But if I had to choose between them, I'd choose Garrett Wilson over AJ Brown, just from an age and health-wise issue. From AJ Brown's knees concerned, and Garrett Wilson's a lot younger and he's fresh.
Yeah, and Devontae Smith is coming into his own. I think if I had to, and I've made this point very clear, I'm not predicting bust for AJ Brown. I'm not projecting him to be a bust. I love AJ Brown. He comes on I go on his IG live, or he's come on mine before, and I'm really hoping to get him on this offseason to talk about his 2023 season. But I love AJ Brown. AJ Brown's the man. This is similar to the other one, Olave and Lamb. I love both of them. I just happen to like Olave a little bit more. But this situation right here, I feel very similar. I'm conflicted. I'm not suggesting one's going to bust, but when you factor in, as we've talked about for the last month or two when we talk about AJ Brown, and as Ron just alluded to, the knee concerns are still present and probably always will be, because it's not like he's had one fluke knee injury and it was fixed, repairable, and not likely to return. Once you start cutting away at the meniscus and padding in the knee, and you have issues with your knee, you tend to have kind of like a vehicle that's not aligned right. You're going to have other problems that develop the more mileage that you put on the knees. My concern is that we're going to see a few missed games in 2023 at a minimum from AJ Brown. You also have the fact that Devontae Smith is literally a top, what was he, number 6 or 7 in fantasy football wide receiver scoring last year in most formats. I think he was between that territory of like 6 and 8, depending on your scoring. But Devontae Smith he's coming into his own. And if AJ Brown misses time, Devontae Smith's going to play even better for those games. the value, if you had to say between Smith and A.J. Brown, might be Smith, but Smith's climbing crazy amounts of ADP, just ripping off 2, 3, 4 draft slots at a time, climbing up ADP boards. I've seen him in round 2, and I don't know if I like that. I don't like the idea that he's climbing. But A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown to me, because of Devontae Smith, because of some injury concerns, because he doesn't always have a ton of volume, he's just so efficient. Every time he goes out onto the field, he's efficient. If this guy got the same reception totals as a normal top 3 or 4 wide receiver, he would drop 1,900 yards, 2,000 yards, and like 18 to 20 touchdowns if he got the same target and reception volume. He doesn't. He's always very low on his reception volume. Last year, let's see here. Last year, let me pull up his stats. A.J. Brown stats. It's crazy when you look at it. Guy had 88 receptions. He didn't have 100 plus like a lot of these top 5 wide receivers. He had 88 receptions. How many, if you haven't looked, if you're just guessing, guess right now. On 88 receptions, guess how many yards he had? 88 receptions is not any. You what?
He had 1,800 yards. That's my guess.
No, Bruce. He had 1,496. But off 88 receptions, that's phenomenal. That's 4th. It says right here, 4th in the NFL in yards, competing against wide receivers that pull in 100, 110 receptions. He was 13th in the NFL in receptions, but 4th in yardage. He was 13th in the NFL in receptions, but 3rd in touchdowns. He was 13th in the NFL in receptions, but was 4th in average. This is one of the most efficient wide receivers in the National Football League year over year over year. However, what makes you feel like it's almost like too good to be true, at some point it's going to be too good to be true, is that he doesn't get the even in Tennessee, he doesn't get the 120, 115 reception season. So if his efficiency isn't there, even one season, he's going to have flat numbers. So that's one angle. I don't want anybody to think that's why I'm down, and I'm not down on A.J. Brown. But if I'm deciding whether to spend my first round pick on A.J. Brown or other players that I feel are a more guaranteed volume, that don't have the injury risk, that don't have Devontae Smith, I start to lean in other directions. Garrett Wilson, you could say, hey, Smitty, Garrett Wilson has a lot of risk factors as well. I would agree that there are some, but I would say not a lot. I mean, his situation is improving. What he did in a much worse situation was quite amazing. In fact, and this goes to show how efficient A.J. Brown is, because they had the same reception totals, these two guys, essentially. Garrett Wilson had 83 receptions. A.J. Brown, as I said, had 88. And look at the yardage difference and the touchdown difference. 4 TDs versus 11. 1103 yards. This is what Love Stars predicted, 1,100 yards when I asked the question, how many yards did A.J. Brown get on 88 receptions? 1,100 yards. That was a great answer because that's what you should be getting. This is normal. So 88 receptions for A.J. Brown, 1,496, 11 TDs, 83 for 1,103 and 4 TDs. This is what you typically are going to get. The thing is, though, this guy's going to see a boatload more receptions, a boatload more targets. He'll probably catch 90 to 100 balls. He'll probably get, while he won't have this efficiency, he'll probably get 1,400 yards on the 195 to 100 receptions. He'll probably get, I would say, double-digit touchdowns. If I had to pick between these two guys,
which side would you rather have?
I would probably say give me Garrett Wilson, but I am a little concerned that he's climbing too high. It does suck. He's no longer a top of round 2 guy. He is a cemented in first round pick. And I not that he can't earn it, not that I don't love it, not that he can't be a top 5 wide receiver, which would clearly earn a 10, 11, and really 11 or 12 overall pick. It sucks the values, the upside's kind of dwindling a little bit. Not all the way, but just, we were scooping this guy up around where we were getting almost Olave, months ago. So it's definitely trending in the direction of, okay, the value isn't like there like it used to be, but he's still very much a guy we want. $20 hauler from the Patrick. The Patrick are dropping wads on the screen today. The Patrick, I'm still working on fixing the rain machine. So the Patrick, we're going to give you a... Patrick, appreciate you dropping that wad on screen. Let's read what the Patrick said. He says, I got my bonus. I'm ready to debate this one, Smitty. I have Olave over Wilson. I'm fine with that. I've already said that. That's no problem at all. You can debate that all you want. Olave over Wilson. And for dude in chat, Lamb, Olave, and Wilson will finish over Waddle. That was asinine. Smitty, rule of thumb is fill your team with studs. Thank you, the Patrick, for dropping the super chat. The Patrick dropping another wad. He did get paid today. He did get paid. On the best teams, Cowboys are favorites in the East. Saints are lucky to finish third in the South. See, that part I don't agree with, because Dallas is, you don't know what Dallas is going to be right now. They're changing everything. Like, this sometimes is a disaster. It could be good. It could be good. And I think assuming the New Orleans Saints aren't going to be a big turnaround team. I don't know if that's, sometimes you want players on good teams, but who's to say the Saints aren't a good team? I disagree. I think they're a good team. I think this is a team full of talent. I think this is a team that's going to, even if they're down, they're a good team, but playing down a lot because, let's say, Carr's a problem, then they're throwing the football a ton. But I'm confused because I thought you said you liked Olave and that other Olave over Garrett Wilson, so I'm not sure what you mean. The Patrick, call in. The Patrick, the phone line's open. If you want to clarify it, call in or drop another super chat. That's fine too. I'm okay with that. Harry Crumbs with a $5 hauler. Harry Crumbs says Breece Hall or Olave. If you had to choose for Dynasty, Hall, he's going a lot higher for a good reason. Olave, I like, he's closing that gap in Dynasty though. Like if let's say you're on the clock and you're good at running back. You drafted a running back in round 1 and you're on the clock. And it's a 3 wide receiver required lineup, then I could see you going Olave over Breece Hall. It makes sense. Because in Dynasty, we're talking Dynasty, not redraft, but in Dynasty, it makes sense because wide receivers last a whole heck of a lot longer. The shelf life is better. There's a real good opportunity for Olave to be a top 5 wide receiver, and at the very worst, a 7 to 10. And so he's a fine second-round pick. And Breece Hall coming off ACL surgery, it makes sense to be cautious if you were potentially in that situation needing a wide receiver. But I do think, I could argue Breece Hall being a top 5 overall player as well. Whereas Olave, even if I think he's a top 5 wide receiver, I'm still not going to argue that in Dynasty you're taking him in round 1, you're taking him in round 2 in Dynasty, you're taking him at the top of 3 in redraft, and you're hitting home runs from those value points. But yeah, so my pick is Garrett Wilson. Bruce, who do you like, Garrett Wilson or AJ Brown?
AJ Brown.
I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at that. I love AJ Brown. I understand it. The efficiency, I just mapped it out. If he gets, let's say, imagine if AJ Brown gets 110 receptions. Like what are we looking at? If this guy got 110 receptions, the Patrick, appreciate you dropping those supers, and feel free to keep them rolling if you feel the urge. But let me just tell you, I appreciate that. Number 1, number 2. Before you go into your explanation here, I don't dislike Lamb. I don't dislike AJ Brown. I don't dislike, but it's specifically Lamb. But I think you're underestimating Olave's seat at the table, where his seat is at the table. Doesn't mean I'm taking anything away from Lamb. I just think Olave is going to shock you and be at least equal to Lamb at the end of the year. But keep in mind the ADPs matter and where you draft them, obviously. But go ahead.
Yeah, I've been telling my league. The guys, the Marines I'm in a fantasy league with this whole time, that I think Olave is a steal. Olave is a league winner. Here's the thing. I'm not going to draft any of them until the 3rd round, but if in the 3rd round, I think I'll be drafting 26 overall right there because it's a 10-man league. It's CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Olave, and A.J. Brown is there, I'm in that order, or in this order, I'm taking CD Lamb. If all of them are available, I have Lamb, then I have A.J. Brown, then I have Olave, then I have Wilson. I agree with you. I think Olave is going to have a great season. I've been preaching that to other people. But as far as if you take the first round stuff that gets attached to CD Lamb's name, if you take that away and you're saying that you could draft either or at the same position for me and in the third round, I'm taking Lamb over Olave.
So I guess the context I'm trying to put it in is, let's say a door is closed. I always use this example. You're getting on a plane. You know, the Patrick takes private jets. He's walking up the stairs, right? Doors closing. You're gonna go up into the air right before week 1. You're gonna land in week 19. Okay, you're gonna land in week 19. Yeah. The doors closing. Somebody says $100, Lamb or Olave. Who's scoring more? Doors closing. Doors cclosing. You're gonna say Lamb.
Lamb.
And I understand that. I'm gonna say Olave, and the door's gonna close. And I get why you're saying Lamb, and I respect it, and it could be one of those like neck and neck situations. But I'm just telling you, if I had to pick, I think Olave is about to drop massive loads all over the field in 2023.
And I mean, I agree with that. I guess the point I'm coming from, Smitty, is if you're sitting there in the third round, okay, and you do mainly 12-team leagues, but if you're sitting there at the beginning of the third round, and you have CD Lamb, A.J. Brown, Olave, and Wilson all still available. Mind you, I have Tyreek Hill right in front of Lamb. But
they're not in the third round. They're not in the third round, though, Patrick. And you're bringing ADP back into the conversation when I tried to remove it.
No, and I understand. What I'm saying is if all of them was available, you're going to take Olave before Lamb?
But listen to what
on your draft for your team.
But what you're doing is you're bringing ADP back into the conversation because you're saying third round. Third round's coming out of your mouth. If I could get Lamb at third round value, potentially you're telling me that Olave is going to fall further. Like all those things are going to fall into play. Also, if I could take Lamb in the third round, he's got more trade value. So if you take round out of it, you take ADP out of it. Use my example of the door closing on the plane. I'm going to tell you Olave. I'm not saying it with like the most confidence of anything I've ever predicted. I'm just saying that the same way we feel about Lamb right now, there's a time where he was questionable like Olave is. You know what I mean? Like this is a prediction business. We're not to say that Olave can't turn into Lamb, you know, especially because you like him. I
absolutely agree.
So ADP has to be factored in. He's going around 1. So like if ADP's factored in, I'd rather draft Lamb and trade him for Olave and get a free player. You know, like all those things come circling back into the equation if we start talking about third round.
Right. Understood. Yeah. Understood.
So, but the other thing, the one thing I want to ask you though, is if you're sitting there in round 1, let's say, bro, who's your favorite running back in that like 8 to 14 overall territory if you're drafting?
8 to 14? See, I missed the show the other day. God damn it, I knew you was going to call me out. I missed the show the other day, but I had Chubb as my RB2. I don't have the list right in front of me. I think I had, if Bijan falls to me at 15 overall in the second round, I want Bijan. Like I want him before. I think I have Bijan over Henry and Eckler.
Bijan would be a steal. But like, who would you take? Would you take, okay, so let's just put, I don't like Chubb in the first round though, so it doesn't make sense to argue this.
Neither do I.
So give me a late first round running back that you like, or maybe
first round,
or maybe another wide receiver or whatever. But I was kind of hoping you'd say running back here, a running back you like. Who would you take at 11, 12 overall as an RB?
11, 12 overall.
Would you take Bijan at 12? Are you okay with Bijan at 12?
Yeah, I like Bijan at 12.
Okay. So let's put Bijan.
If Chubb and McCaffrey is already off the board, I like Bijan. Yeah.
My whole thing is like, and let's pretend you don't have a second round pick. I just want to argue this point here because you'd have back-to-back picks here. But let's say you could get
see, that's hard. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Let's say you could get Olave here. I just feel like if you're drafting this spot right here in a draft, Lamb isn't the pick for me because I feel like you're drafting him at a ceiling. I'd rather get the RB here. I'd rather get Olave here and have that kind of, balance going on. If you take Lamb here, now if you get Walker, if you take Lamb here, Walker here, then I'm feeling good about that too. But it's just
that's
preference.
Another one. See, you're making me grab my paper that I just wrote out. So you could go on to somebody else while I'm getting my shit together. But
right.
I don't like Lamb. I think on my board, I don't like Lamb anywhere. I think I have him at 14. I don't know. Let me look for my paper.
He's not the Patrick. He's going in the first round. He's going in the first round. That's the whole.
Well, here's the big difference. Patrick, he's doing 10-man league, so that's a big difference between a 10-man and a 12-man league. So Patrick's going to get more value for players later on because it's a 10-man league. They're going to go later than in the 12-man league. But in a 12-man league, Lamb is going in the first round pretty much every single time.
Every time. Real quickly, thoughts. Thoughts. Traded Waddle 2023 2.5, 2023 2.8 for Christian Watson, and a first rounder and a 2024 second. Depends where the first rounder is. Waddle's got a lot. What's funny is my next debate is Waddle and Watson, and I'm gonna surprise some people on this one. But again, this is a ADP context argument. There's two sides to this argument: ADP, and then there's arguing the value of it. So, if would I rather have Waddle? Yeah, because he's got more trade value. He's a phenomenal wide receiver. He's a little injury prone in my view. There's some concerns. He's the number 2 wide receiver on his team, but there's enough volume that's not a big problem. But there's some reasons to argue Watson if you get a high first rounder in 2024. Like if you've got a shot at Marvin Harrison Jr. with Watson over just Waddle, give me it all day long. But if this is like you're being objective and honest with yourself, this is a late first round pick. It doesn't move the needle enough potentially to warrant the trade. However, do I think Watson could outscore Waddle? I do. It doesn't mean I draft that way. It doesn't mean I trade that way. I take advantage of it. And in the context of this trade, if you're getting a early first round pick, that's taking advantage of it. If it's a late first round pick, almost a second rounder essentially, then what are you swapping? A 1.12 for your 2.5? Like who cares? It doesn't do anything. It's got to literally be a high first round pick for this to make sense. It's a great question. And we'll go on to the next topic on that note. So hang tight real quick, guys, on the phone. Let me go ahead and get the ball rolling on this one. So we're gonna put Waddle and Olave on screen here. I'm sorry, Waddle and Watson. And I think the Patrick, you had a comment about somebody saying something negative about Waddle, so I think that's what I read on your comment. So I have a feeling you're gonna not love this take, but you need to understand my angle. Of course, this guy's got a higher ADP. Of course, you're gonna potentially draft him over Watson. Watson's going in the 4th or 5th round. Depends on if you're drafting with grandmas. It depends on if you're like the Patrick and you're in a 10-man league. Watson's falling to round 5. Waddle's arguably cemented into round 2. I don't think I've seen Waddle go in the 3rd round. Ron, have you ever seen Waddle go in the 3rd round?
I don't remember seeing him go in the 3rd round now.
So the values there's miles apart.
I did, but once.
Miles apart. But as the example that I gave earlier with the Patrick, if I'm sitting here and I'm having to force myself to draft Waddle, who I don't like in round 2. I don't mean that in a way to say that I don't
agree.
like Waddle, but Waddle in round 2 is a total avoid for me. He's the number 2 wide receiver for his team, and he's injury prone. And I just think that this is a no-go for me. I'm taking Walker all day long, who's falling at that exact territory. And then I'm taking Watson in round 4 with a smile. So in context, Watson all day long value-wise over Waddle. And even though you're going to want Waddle over Watson 1 for 1. Like and you could use the same example of the doors closing on the plane. I wouldn't have a problem. I might even yell Watson. Who knows? Like, I love Watson. I love Watson so much. But I could understand somebody saying 1 for 1. Look, there's a reason Waddle's going around 2, a reason Watson's going around 4. The majority of human beings think they're 2 rounds apart in ADP. But I don't draft Waddle. I don't know that I ever draft Waddle because I'd rather take these running backs like Walker and Hall in round 2 all day long over Waddle in round 2. So this is a tough one to answer because of the ADP factor, but I don't think it's crazy at all to say that this man could outscore this guy on injury concerns alone. What say you let's go to the Patrick first and then the Bruce and then let's go to the Patrick, Ron Navy, then the Bruce.
Yeah, as far as Waddle, you misinterpreted some gentleman in the chat said that Waddle is going to finish in front of, because the original debate was Olave or Lamb, and somebody said Waddle in front of both of them, it don't matter. And I was like, nah, you're crazy. I'm with you on this one, Smitty. I don't see myself ever drafting on my board. And like I said, my board is like catered to my league. 10-man. Also, I know that the guys, it's standard scoring, so they love running backs. Daggone, I got Waddle at 26 overall. So that's what, 3rd round, even in your 12-man team.
And that's where he should be.
12-team leagues.
To be honest, he should be a 3rd rounder. He should be a 3rd rounder. That's why I never draft him in the 2nd round. He should be a 3rd rounder.
So I don't like Waddle at all. I'm with you on that one.
Ron Navy.
Yeah, well, where I like Waddle is if Mike White has a chance to get in there, Tua gets injured or whatever, or can't play, I like Waddle a lot more with Mike White in there than I do Tua.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a say because I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. I don't know who we gravitate toward.
Well, we all saw Mike White pass for 300-400 yards with Garrett Wilson and all them. He could do the same with Waddle.
And when it was his team, the Jets missed the playoffs. So no, I don't buy it.
Well, but give Mike White, who I think has proven that he's got skill. Like he's gone out there and surgically destroyed, opposing defense, but he's also gone out there and been banged up the entire time his second go around, and he literally just couldn't perform. But I think you put him in that situation. I think I know what Ron's saying. At first, I thought you meant you like Waddle more than like Tyreek Hill. You're saying you like both of them better if Tyreek Hill and Waddle if Mike White gets in there is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I can understand that.
White is the quarterback. I like him better.
The Bruce.
No, I like Watson better, but because of the ADP. But is his ADP higher because we already know what Waddle is with Tua? We have no idea what Watson is with Jordan Love. You can be infatuated with Jordan Love. We never seen him really play a full game in the regular season. So, but I have seen Waddle and Tua do it together. Concussion Tua. So I'm going to start calling them. But I have seen them play together.
I think at the end of the day, I can't sit here and say like take Watson over Waddle. You'd be so reckless to even try and approach that from an angle that's responsible. But like at the end of the day, I'm liking Watson in terms of his value, his ADP, his ability to hit a home run from that value way more. But like in context of ADP, it's not something we can just like. I can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm choosing Watson. But like, if the door was closing on the plane, and you said, Smitty, you're landing in week 19, who's scoring more? I would be tempted to throw out the Watson. And maybe that's me being bold and fun. That's fun, Smitty. But like, I'm tempted to say it. Because this guy could get hurt at any moment too. What if he plays 7 games? Like what Watson's
I'll jump
a
on that
concern.
island with you, Smitty.
I think everyone's enamored by Waddle's one of those guys that's like an underdog, and a lot of people love him for that. It's a weird, there are certain players that have that underdog mentality. People love Mixon because he's an underdog, and people are against his off the field problems, and people just love to back him for whatever reason. I think Waddle's got a lot of that. People are used to hearing Tyreek, and a lot of people like to come in and say Waddle's the man. But Waddle had a very strong start to the season. He had a pretty decent middle, and he had a pretty sporadic, last final third of the season. But he had 8 TDs, 1356, and 75 receptions. But and to be honest with you, real quickly, Waddle's only played 2 years, and he's only missed essentially like 1 game. So you could come in and say, Smitty, he hasn't missed any time. What are you talking about? But he is always banged up. He's always banged up. It worries me. Yeah, Bruce.
I
think a lot of people forget.
Oh, go ahead, Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
No, go ahead. You're up, Bruce. My bad.
Well, I was going to say, I know with the ADP we like Watson better, but with Waddle, it's, in my opinion, we do say Tyreek, but on a good thing because he takes most of the double coverage. He takes most of the defense away, which leaves him pretty much in one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, I hear you, bro.
Hey, Smitty.
Yeah.
So as far as the Waddle thing, it's like, of course, like you're right, Christian Watson is better ADP value, but I think the one that I'm having a hard time with is Waddle. And as much as me and you both, I mean, I just got into, is Ron the one that's the Steelers fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like as much as me and you think Burrow to the moon and like he's a league winner, Waddle or Higgins? Because I had them at like 26 and 26A. Like, who do we like more there?
It's funny you asked that because they're so similar. Like this is one of those things where they're both number 2 wide receivers for their team. Burrow is clearly better than Tua, but the Miami Dolphin passing attack is, you could almost say that's like a bridges the gap between the talent level. Like the Miami Dolphins are gonna throw the ball, and so you're like, yeah. So they're very similar. I would say, end of day, they're just even for me. They're both guys I don't find myself drafting because I don't want to spend late second
as high as they're going. Yeah,
I'd rather have Watson in the 4th and London in the 5th than go near Waddle and Higgins. Like if you could give me Watson and London in round 4 and 5, and then afford me the ability to use my second that I'd use on Waddle on a running back like Walker, to use my third rounder, top of third rounder that would go Higgins, I could use that on Breece Hall. Why not go Watson, London, Breece Hall, Walker, and then use my first rounder on, an elite Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I can't draft Higgins.
I'm 100% on board with you on that, and that's how I make my draft boards. Like I said, it's hard to say, like this guy is my number this, because like you're making yours completely off of different parameters. But like I completely agree. I don't see myself drafting Waddle or Higgins because of how high they're going to go in my league, and I'm not going to make that jump.
Yeah, I don't see the value in T. Higgins like everybody else, just because, especially when people want to stack it. I know that there are a lot of reasons to stack in best ball, especially when we're talking promo code Smitty Underdog Fantasy. Link is pinned in the live chat.
With the number 1 now.
Link is pinned in the live chat. Make sure you guys get signed up now in advance. We won't be drafting tonight. Neil, appreciate your $2 holler. we draft essentially on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So here is the schedule. So down here, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, I'm live whenever news breaks. I go live Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. These are the set in stone ones, live whenever news breaks, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
I'm going to jump in one of those.
These are the gravy episodes. But appreciate that super chat. But it's a good topic. This is a really good topic. Thank you again, Neil. It's a really good topic, and Higgins and Waddle are one and the same to me. Those are late third round, mid third round picks to me, where I start really liking them there, but they're not going there. Waddle's going around 2. Higgins falls to mid third sometimes, but if Hall's there, if Burrow's there, and Burrow you should try and get as late as you can. He's going around 4 now. So I try and do that when I can, but sometimes I'm not patient enough. If I'm sitting there at 3.10, I'm not taking the risk. I'm just grabbing Joseph. We're gonna roll
agree.
with it. We're gonna smoke cigars.
If Mahomes and Allen are already off.
I love Tyler Boyd as the number 3 because he gets used a lot as the wide receiver 2 in that Cincinnati offense, and you get him like for nothing. You get him for nothing. Tyler Boyd, I love Tyler Boyd's value, and I love his production that he gets.
Yeah.
Because there's games where he just explodes and has wide receiver 2 numbers. So we all forget that, Watson really didn't have that many targets last year. And and even though he didn't, he had that 4 or 5 game where he scored 7 touchdowns in 4 or 5 straight games.
Let me show the game log, because this is what I have 2 videos coming out real quickly just so you guys are aware. This comment right here from Frankie. Frankie says Fields is him. I actually have the title of the video is Fields is him, or Justin Fields is him. So that's coming out. So get ready for that, Frankie. You're gonna love that. As far as Watson, I have a Watson and London video coming out. My strategy of 4th and 5th round, going Watson, London, and going other non-wide receiver positions in 2 and 3. And you can couple that with the Jamar Chase in round 1 or whatever, or JJ or Tyreek Hill. But my point being, you go after Watson and London in 3 and 4, and you use the 2nd and 3rd round to get quarterbacks, running backs, or Travis Kelce, whatever. Part of what I'm going to explain in there is show people this game log for Christian Watson, which is just unbelievably crazy. It's you look at this. This is why I love Watson so much. Is exactly what Ron just said. That in this territory, in this 4-game stretch, let me highlight it and put it on screen here just so you guys can see it. It's a small sample, but it just shows you how electric he is. In week 10, 11, 12, and 13, he had 107 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 110 yards and 1 touchdown, and he had 48 yards and 1 touchdown, one of which was that 48-yard, the week 13. He had a 46-yard touchdown run. He had a 40, so he essentially had 3, 2, 1, 2 touchdowns in those 4 games. Week 10, 3 touchdowns. Week 11, 2 touchdowns. Week 12, 1 touchdown. Week 13, 2 total touchdowns. This is, and it's 4 games in a row. So when you say to yourself, like, okay, it's a small sample, can't you? It's really hard to do that kind of, drop that kind of production in 4 straight NFL games as a rookie. So if there's ever a sign that this man's going to become as good as Waddle, like to where you're literally the plane doors closing and you actually yell, $100, Smitty, who scores more? Watson. This is the guy to do it with. If you're debating with somebody going in the 4th or 5th round, even if you're talking London Waddle, this is the guy to bank on, because he showed you he's battle tested in a very, very decent sample, a 1-month sample of production that is just head-scratchingly crazy. He had 200 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. This is a Deebo Samuel, a poor man's Deebo Samuel on the ground as well, if they utilize him that way. So there'll be more on this.
Crazy is he never had double-digit targets all year long. The most targets he had in one game is 8.
Yeah, and if you
That
take
was a Rodgers thing.
and if you take out weeks 1 through 9, because you could essentially remove that, his stats, his extrapolated stats are so much crazier. Like if you take, and you know what's insane. You know it's insane though is he had the rushing touchdown early on in the year. His other rushing touchdown, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. If we take out one of those, that rushing touchdown, which is in weeks 1 through 9, so we had 1 rushing touchdown in weeks 10 through 18, and we take out that rushing touchdown, which would have added to his touchdown projection, and we say he had 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, so we had 8 touchdowns in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, right? So 8 touchdowns divided by 9 times 17 is exactly 15.1 touchdowns. Even if you don't just be greedy and bias and say, if you extrapolate his weeks 10 through 13 data, he would have done, even if we include this no touchdown territory from weeks 14 through 18, he was on pace from week 10 on when he was used. He wasn't used in weeks 1 through 9. He was on pace for 15 scores. That's pretty crazy.
And one of those passing touchdowns was a Love to Christian Watson touchdown.
Yeah, we do have that sample. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. I said, so 9 games. Let's see here. We have 107, 48, 110 plus 48 plus 46 plus 49 plus 11 plus 104. That is 523 divided by 9 games is 58 times 17. He would have had only 1,000 yards on the year extrapolating weeks 10 through 18, but he still would have had 15 touchdowns. There's a lot to be liked in this game log of Watson's. It's unbelievable.
Smitty, don't forget that his first regular season career target was a 68-yard touchdown that was a drop. So yeah, like I like the chances on this guy. I really do.
You know what's so crazy about him is he reminds me, he's 6'4". I don't think a lot of people know that. I think if you're in here kind of doubting Watson because he came from a small school, he came from Trey Lance's college, North Dakota State, throw that out the window. He's already at the NFL. He's already been a superstar rookie. And you literally look at this kid. He's 6'4", 6'4", about 210. Just a monster in the making. He's going to probably naturally put on another 5 to 10 pounds of muscle, at the NFL level. Wouldn't be shocked if he entered like this season at 214, 215 from 208. And if this guy, he got fast tracked, he's going to be a potential, I don't know, I would say like 3.5 year mindset wide receiver entering his second year because of Aaron Rodgers.
My thing is, with Watson, I think Rodgers may have put him in the doghouse for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he did. He's a leader now. He's a veteran on this team as a sophomore. Yeah. Because he literally, like, does anybody understand? Most wide receivers would have crumbled, though. Like the Patrick said when he dropped that touchdown pass, he got an Aaron Rodgers doghouse at the beginning of the year. Brucey, he was definitely getting yelled at, screamed at. He could have screamed and yelled back. He could have been a ridiculous person and not taken that all positively. This kid learned. Instead of putting his tail between his legs and crumbling or getting an attitude on himself, going, yeah, don't yell at me. He took it. He turned it all to a positive. He learned on the field. He progressed rapidly. And even at the end of the year when he messed up, like to the Patrick's point where he dropped a touchdown at the beginning of the year, does anybody remember what week it was? It was week 15, 16, 17. I remember one of my fantasy games was on the line, and Watson dropped a wide open touchdown. He ran the wrong route. I forget what it was, but it was like,
wrong route.
Yeah, ran the wrong route. Give me touchdown. There was about 3 or 4 of those left on the field from Watson. So, like, you could
And
look at that
Rodgers
as a
said after
negative,
the game-
or you could say that
Rodgers
this guy's.
said,
What?
hey, he wants to catch. If he wants to catch touchdowns, he's got to run the right routes.
Yeah, so you could look at that as a negative and say that, oh my God, he dropped all these opportunities, or you could say, look, he was a rookie, and instead of folding, he learned from it, and he could get 3 or 4. He had 3 or 4 more touchdowns on the table that he left on the table, and I look at that as a positive. And he's gonna walk into 2023 just.
Look how he went from the dropsies to making D-Hop level catches in
Correct.
traffic later on in the year. Absolutely ridiculous. And at his value, absolutely, because nobody knows how good Jordan Love is. Nobody knows what this Green Bay offense is going to look like. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's out of pocket to say that Christian Watson could finish top 10 overall.
Oh, easy.
If not higher.
Yeah, I mean, he's
know-
on the Moon Men list for a reason. He's in my top 10 at the end of this season for sure. I think it's important to note that if wide receivers can function like A.J. Brown in Tennessee under Tannehill for as long as he did, Olave functioning as a rookie and that says a lot about Olave because Watson didn't have the turmoil at quarterback that Olave had. So that's why I love Olave so much, is because Olave did all that he did with chaos at the quarterback position. So it's going to be a gift from the fantasy gods, Derek Carr to Olave. But my whole point is that, like, you see these players that survive with mediocre quarterback play, and guys like Olave, guys play very, very well despite, as long as the quarterback's competent enough and can get the football in their direction. I think Jordan Love is competent enough. I think that given Watson's ability and talent level, I don't see how Jordan Love fails on a massive scale. I think maybe he could be a year away from maybe showing us what he's capable of doing, because this will be his first year. As much as we want to believe he's like, oh, here's this guy that's been in the league a while, this will be his first year. He's absorbed a lot from Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure. He's watched the game a lot. He's probably going to step in and be better than the average, like, first-year starter. But I just think that, like, even if he's competent, and I think he is, Watson's going to be fine. And he's going to be a blanket safety net.
And I know, I don't know if you've seen this, but on the McAfee show, Rodgers did say, I taught Jordan Love everything I knew. It's up to him to perform.
Yeah.
So,
and
if Rodgers is telling the truth, then he should be at least a mid-tier quarterback.
Yeah. I think he's going to be good.
And Smitty, I was just one more thing, singing Christian Watson's praises and piggybacking off of Ron as far as daggone learning from Rodgers or whatnot, is that every time we watched the Packers game while Devontae Adams was still there, they had that little short flat route that all the commentators said a million times was the extension of the run game. The article I read said that is the number one thing that, like, Love and Watson have going for him. And Watson has the size and the strength and the athletic ability to be athletically even better than Devontae. I mean, like, I'm not jumping out on the moon and saying he will be, but so I'm not worried about the volume problem because, like somebody said earlier, we got to worry about, like, Watson never got a bunch of targets, and that's true. With the new regime and the new offense that's going to be ran, and how Devontae used to be an extension of the running game as far as those targets and catches, I think Watson, like I said, I think Watson is one of the best values in the draft.
Yeah. Let me wrap this part up here. So,
which side would you rather have?
Again, with the strong emphasis on Waddle having the higher ADP, understanding if you were trading Waddle, you could get Watson and some. Understanding all of that, at the end of the day, this guy's got so much more upside than this guy given the cost of entry. 4th round pick, 2nd round pick. Give me Walker in round 2. Give me Breece Hall at the end of round 2 or in round 3 over Waddle so that I can come in and get this guy Watson. But I am going to say it. I'm hesitant to because people take things the wrong way and they don't understand the context sometimes and they just roll with it and say, Smitty's going to draft Watson over Waddle. I'm not, because I understand what time it is, but I'm going to say this. If that door was closing, the plane was about to take off before week 1. I'm going to say it. The plane's going to take off and I'm going to land in week 19 and the door's closing. I'm going to be in flight the entire season. No Wi-Fi, unable to watch the games. You say, Smitty, $100. Who scores more? The plane door's closing. I yell Watson. Whoa, wrong button. I'm just going to say it. I think he surprises everybody. I worry about Waddle staying healthy, even though he hasn't actually missed more than like the one game. I see Watson exploding, and I think he wins leagues in round 4. I don't think he does. I think he wins leagues in round 4. I think if you draft Watson in round 4, he's not just an average good pick. He can actually help you win a league in round 4.
You know what's a tougher question, Smitty? It's not Watson and Waddle at their ADPs because they're right next to each other. It's Watson and London.
Yeah. I think because Watson, I believe Watson has a better situation than London right now because Ritter has more to prove to me. Yes. Even though Ritter played more games than Love, I just trust Green Bay's situation more. I trust Aaron Jones being a nice safety net. A.J. Dillon, give me Watson over London, and the ADPs indicate that because you can get both of them. But London's in the same boat in round 5. Like if you're saying give me Waddle in round 2 or London in round 5, give me London all day long in round 5. That's what my London and Watson round 4 and 5 draft strategy video is going to be about.
Yeah.
Love Star says, "Come on, bro. You come on, bro. You come on." And you're more than welcome to call in, Love Stars. I don't know if you called in before. You want to. I appreciate you, by the way. But if you want to bark about it, call in and bark about it. You know.
Hey, Smitty, I got one, but it's 2 people we don't like: Cook and Eckler.
Cook and Eckler. He's got to be Eckler. For one, Eckler's gonna probably ball out in the beginning of the year. The concern is what point does he drop off? But both of them have that same risk level of mileage being out of control. So Eckler's the easy call, but
Eckler's going to be on a team? Cook might not be.
I think Cook will find a home real quick if he gets released.
Cook will find a home. Well, I knew I sent you a tweet that Eckler sent earlier. I don't know if you've seen it. He said, worst comes to worst, I ball out for the Chargers one more year.
Yeah.
And I test myself in free agency.
He's not getting anything in free agency to what he believes he's going to get at 29 years old. It's so I don't blame these guys, but like there's a reason teams are not knocking down the door right now because they're worried about that mileage. But
it's really not fair on these running backs because they come in as a rookie, they spend their first, and if the team uses, if they drafted in the first round, the team uses the 5th-year option. Heck, half their career's already over before they can even get another contract.
Yeah, they need to protect the running back somehow. They're like they were saying the pay structure as rookies needs to be higher, and I agree. I think if you're an RB, you should be getting something different.
Well, that's why they're not going in the first round.
Hey, I gotta run here, guys, early. So let me go around the horn real quick. Patrick, give me your final thoughts. 10 seconds, go.
I think Chubb is a better pick this year over Eckler and Henry. I think Eckler, Henry, Cook. I got Chubb. I got Walker. I got Bijan. I think at the end of the day that I would rather wait and see how far Brees and ETN would fall before, even if Henry and Eckler and Cook fall. I think daggone And Jonathan, I put Jonathan Taylor in there too. I think I'd rather daggone wait and see and try on Brees Hall or ETN before I even thinking about taking Eckler or Henry or any of them. That's all I got from you.
All right, man. Hey, appreciate your super chats. Appreciate your conversation. Thanks for getting in here. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
The Patrick out. Bruce, 10 seconds. Go.
You know what? I think that even waiting to the 4th, 5th round to get your first 2 receivers, whether they be Watson in London, that's actually a good idea. Just remember, you got to get burrowed.
You got to get burrowed to get burrowed.
Get burrowed.
You got to get burrowed in order to get burrowed. The more you burrow, the more you get burrowed.
Yeah, we can't be rising
it's like science.
We want it to go down.
Yeah, you want to get burrowed, you got to smoke more cigars. All right, Olave. Olave, Lamb, that was a good debate. Okay, Bruce, appreciate you. Ron Navy, final thoughts.
No, I'm beat, dude.
Yeah,
they said that this anesthesia could take a week, up to a week to get out of my system. And
Yeah.
I'll just be sitting here and I doze off and drop my phone. Anything I'm holding, I drop.
Yeah.
So.
Well, rest up, man.
So
binge watch The Night Agent on Netflix.
Oh, tonight the Ark's on, so I got to watch the Ark tonight.
Yeah,
if I can stay awake.
But Night Agent, The Night Agent, not bad. All right, later, Ron.
Right.
Appreciate you.
Right.
Later.
Bye.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'm live Monday through Friday, every single Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That is what this show is right here. Let me get these out of the way. So I'm live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Rain or shine, Christmas or New Year's, doesn't matter. Live whenever news breaks. And these are the gravy shows, the extras. Sometimes I pretty much do them most of the time. Don't cancel very many of them. But these are the bonus shows. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Right around midnight Eastern, I'm usually live doing the drafts. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. That link is pinned in the live chat. It's in the description of every video. So in this video, you'll see the link down there. You'll want to sign up early. It's $10 minimum deposit. It's a very small minimum requirement. They'll match up to $100 in your first deposit, though. So choose your first deposit wisely and get signed up ahead of time so that you don't miss out on how quickly these drafts fill up. And so, when we draft on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you'll want to get involved on that. So get some. Appreciate you. Leave a comment in the comments about which players you liked out of these 3 debates that we had today. Appreciate you all.
I give you the 4 horsemen: Jamar Chase, Kenneth Walker, Brees Hall, Joe Burrow, all from the 1.1 draft slot. The 4 horsemen ride 4 horses all at one time. Giddy up.
Thank you all. Appreciate you. Ron Navy dropping a 20 watt on screen. Hold on. Ron, hold on. I got all these old screens on here. Where was I? Let's go back to this one. Ron Navy. Ron, appreciate you dropping it. Thank you. Appreciate everybody who super chatted. Ron Navy dropping his buzzer beater. The Patrick dropping his $10 hauler. The Patrick dropping a $20 hauler. Appreciate that. The Patrick dropping another wad. Harry Crumbs dropping a super chat. Appreciate this one, my man. Guillermo, appreciate you, my man. Neil, and then the Ron Navy super chat. I'll see you all tomorrow or tonight if news breaks. I have a feeling there could be some news. Michael K. CPA first in the building. Appreciate that. Stormcat, we'll see you later, Stormcat. We'll see you, Prime. Frankie, peace out, my man. Sam, appreciate you. Space Ricky, appreciate you. Mike, G Mike in the building. William Hitchcock, appreciate you, Wild Bill. Space Ricky, you're the man. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.